Good morning, or good noonday, or good afternoon, depending where you are. Welcome to Confessions of an Ex-Scientologist. I am Liz, your friendly and messy third-generation ex-Scientologist, and today we are talking about the piping hot national tea. Yeah, so I'm really glad to see you guys here. I see so many members in the comments. I see my mods. Thank you so much. I see friends, and I'm really glad to have you here. I think this morning, the best move is to dive right into the conversation, because while I'm so grateful for all of my regulars here, I'm hoping that this answers some questions for other people in the world right now, because as I said, Scientology has once again made national headlines. So, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're late to the party. First, we are going to start with an overview. This here is my graphic. You know a girl loves a good graphic. And we're going to look at a bunch of different websites this morning, but I just kind of wanted to start with an overview, because today we are talking about Scientology in regards to Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk, Turning Point USA and Turning Point UK, as well as some major donors and even some government officials. So that's where we're at. What started all this? Well, I can tell you. Let me share my screen with you guys. Hold on. Oh no, did I actually? I'll find it. Hold on, guys. This is the one. This is the one. It's this. It's these dang crazy eyes. That's what I think started so much of the conversation. Look at those eyes. We, of course, are talking about Erika Kirk's crazy eyes. And why? Because of a recent post of Candace Owens. Let me get this in a different way. This is what made national, actually international news. I first saw that Candace had tweeted this in the India Times. I think that was an Associated Press release, but this is the tweet that recently has been heard around the world. The tweet is talking about Scientology in relationship with Erika and Charlie Kirk. Now, if you live under a rock, you wouldn't know, but right now, Candace is on one. She's, I think, the #1 podcast in the world. And she is seeking justice for her assassinated friend, Charlie Kirk. Now, this is all very political. I don't want to make this anything political today. That's not the game. This is good to know, peace of my mind. They say Erika was responding to a question at that moment. I get that. I don't think that's the first time we saw her crazy eyes, though, or the last. So Candace has been seeking to find out who killed Charlie Kirk. We're not going to go into that here because the entire world understands that. She's been catching a lot of heat for a lot of different reasons. One of those reasons is her ties to Scientology. So she finally spoke up in this tweet recently. She says, "No matter how many times you Zionist lie, you cannot reshape reality. I never took money from John Mappin." John Mappin is a Scientologist, high-level public Scientologist who she has been accused of having ties of. That's the biggest publicly known tie. However, there are a lot more ties here. So John Mappin is in the hat, the white hat right there. He was instrumental in starting Turning Point UK. All right, so when Candace and Charlie went out to the UK to open and to start their fundraising for their first Turning Point UK, John Mappin was a huge facilitator. And because he's a Scientologist, Candace has been getting heat. However, she says that that's not really the biggest and most concerning Scientology tie. She says this: if you are upset about the mere prospect of Turning Point's relationship with Scientology, you should ask for the call logs from the hospital after Charlie was shot, because their team certainly did phone a Scientologist who happens to be one of the bigger donors to Turning Point USA, and it isn't John Mappin. Maybe direct your questions to the new CEO, and that, of course, would be Erika Kirk. Now, we're going to come back to this tweet because more is alleged, but I wanted to let you guys know that our designated ex-Scientologist journalist, Tony Ortega, he runs the Underground Bunker. This came out, I think, today. Today's the 17th, right? Yeah. So this was this morning's news. And I really wanted to bring this up because he ties a lot of things together. Big Scientology donors and the right wing, some actual evidence amid the feuding. So he says, since Charlie Kirk's assassination in September, political commentator Candace Owens, who used to work for Kirk's Turning Point USA, has been promoting conspiracy theories about his death, creating a rift between Owens and Charlie's widow, Erika Kirk, who was the CEO of Turning Point USA. He goes on to say he's not very interested in the feud, and who could the donor be? Probably Tom Cummins. If you guys are familiar, when Charlie died, Tom Cummins came out and said that he has been giving $50,000 a month to Turning Point, to Charlie Kirk, for over 10 years. So that's a pretty big bonus. It's a pretty big donor. So that's who Tony thinks they might be talking about. But then he brings this up. I'm going to go down here. You guys, there's a link to this in the description. There's also Craig Jensen. Now, Craig introduced Tom Cummins to Charlie Kirk. So they already knew each other for more than 10 years. And Craig Jensen here is on the board, the advisory board for Turning Point USA. So they go way back. So most likely, one of these, in my opinion, one of these two people got the call that Candace is talking about here when it says you should ask for the call logs from the hospital after Charlie was shot, because their team certainly did phone a Scientologist who happens to be one of the bigger donors to Turning Point USA. Yes, I had a Freudian slip just then. Cheers to that. All right. So we have these two major donors. Now, one thing to know is that this guy, Craig Jensen, he has been sued more than once for forcing his employees to do Scientology training as part of their job. So just to make that really clear, this man has been sued by forcing his religion onto his employees more than once. I think the first one was in the 90s and then the other one was in the 2000s. So if that tells us anything, it tells us that this guy is a hardcore Scientologist, super hardcore Scientologist. And he is also from, so now we have three. We've got John Mappin, who's close to Candace and close to Charlie. Craig Jensen, who's on the board of Turning Point USA. So that's two countries. Then we have Tom Cummings over here, who has been donating $50,000 a month for over 10 years. And underneath him is Trish Duggan, who is brought up in Tony's article here. Oops. Hold on. He's always in the front row. Now that's a big deal in Scientology. So here is something I found really interesting. Joy Vila, who also, she wore like the MAGA dresses. She's out of Scientology, but she was a Scientologist. She asked Craig Jensen if Charlie Kirk was a Scientologist. She asked him straight up, wrote to him. Craig Jensen wrote this back. I was introduced to Charlie by a good friend from Palm Beach. I then put on an event for Charlie at my home in Clearwater and gave him an OSA escorted tour of the flag building. He was blown away. I gave him a copy of the Causes of Suppression booklet, and he later said that it saved his life. So yes, he knows full well I am a Scientologist, and he is supportive. I am on the Turning Point USA Advisory Board. Love, Craig. So if you have taken Charlie Kirk to an OSA escorted tour, that means that the highest levels of Scientology have brought in their specialists in public relations, in answering questions with the outside world, and their religious groups. Like they have these religious affiliated, what are they called? They're like all the religions kind of get together to protect their free speech, and they have certain things in common. And so they form a lot of those types of groups. So that really got me thinking, right? For one, and not to be a downer here, but Causes of Suppression didn't save his life. So boo, that didn't work. But it really got me thinking about the causes of suppression and what that is, what that means, and we'll talk about it in a minute. But I just want to show you one more piece of proof, or alleged proof, that Charlie Kirk was practicing Scientology. So if we go back to this tweet from Candace, and she's saying it's not John Mappin. John Mappin's not the biggest donor. He's not the guy. So Mappin pops on and he's responding to somebody else, but he says, Charlie loved and applied Scientology. So please keep your religious bigotry to yourself. We're simply interested in the truth. Kind regards, John. I think this is a response to Bren, who was like, no, no. Loved and applied Scientology. So what does that mean? What does it mean when someone loves and applied Scientology? Because this was when my bullshit meter really started going off. Not simply because I'm not saying that I don't believe John, but what is upsetting here is it seems that history is being rewritten so that this great MAGA hero, Charlie Kirk, endorsed and practiced Scientology. And if that comes out on mainstream, I think that the future lies are going to be brought forth. This is all based on a lie. The relationship of Scientology to Turning Point USA, all of this is based on a lie. The lie is that you can be a Christian or another practicing member of another religion and still be a Scientologist. This is a bold-faced lie. Now, if we go over, we talk a tiny bit here, I want to show you guys what I have, this heavy-ass book. This is called the Scientology Handbook. And when you become a volunteer minister of Scientology, you study everything in this book, and you vow to take this out into the world. And when people give you problems and they tell you what's going on with them, you're going to find the information in here that is going to fix their problem, and then you give it to them. Now, because this is such a big, beefy, meaty book that seriously Scientologists probably paid like $1 million for, each one of these chapters is now broken out into little pamphlets. And that is what he was talking about. Let's see here. When he says here, Craig Jensen says that I gave him a copy of Causes of Suppression. It means that one of these chapters was broken out into a little book, and he gave that to Charlie Kirk, and that it saved his life. Okay, this is what Craig Jensen is quoted as saying. I know this is going to be backwards for you, and I'm not expecting you to read it. I will read you it. But the cause of book is a bitch. The cause of suppression. Okay. So you would give this to a person if they were sick or they had somebody evil or negative on their lines in their life. The first thing, you know what, I'm just going to read this to you because not the whole book. Don't worry. Don't worry. But I'm going to read you this very first little page here, because so much of the training that you receive when you become a volunteer minister or somebody whose job it is to disseminate Scientology is you have to find out what the person's ruin is. You have to find the problem that's holding them up the most in life. Sometimes this is easy because people come to you and they're like, hey, I'm freaking out. I have a big problem. Other times you take a personality test and that tells you what your biggest issue is. And then you would find the chapter or the book that associates with that. Okay. So I don't know what Charlie was going through. And this was years ago, right? That quote was from 2017. So why are some people more ill? Okay, we can look really smart. We'll do it like this. Why are some people more ill? Nope. Why are some people ill more often than others? Why are some accident prone? And is there a reason others live their lives on an emotional seesaw, doing well one day and badly the next? There is an explanation, and it's got nothing to do with the gods, fate, or the position of the stars. In fact, the actual reason behind these phenomena and their resolution has been explained in Scientology. L. Ron Hubbard was able to see through the complexities of human behavior and discover the underlying factors which explain the phenomenon of suppression in people. For it is suppression by others that causes these seemingly haphazard events. In the excerpts from his writing in this chapter, you will find out how to recognize people who wish you ill and those who should be your friends. You'll discover why some people do poorly in life and how you can help them regain their well-being. You'll learn about the mechanics behind the destructive yet commonplace situation and ways to counteract it. It is data that could actually change your life tangibly and instantly, just as it has changed the lives of others. So those are the exact words that Charlie Kirk would have read on the first page of this Scientology pamphlet chapter book that would have been given to him. Okay. It's about the antisocial personality. And it actually talks about the upper 2% or lower, depending on how you want to classify it, of the truly antisocial people in the world. So this gives us, I think, a little bit of clues into what Charlie maybe said that he was looking for help with. I find it also very interesting. By the way, this goes on to show the antisocial traits, not antisocial traits like by mental health, but from Scientology. There's some really interesting things in here. One of them is an antisocial personality has the following attributes. One of them is he or she speaks only in broad generalities, like saying, they say, everybody thinks, everybody knows. And I have to admit, I do not do that because I think of this training that I've had ever since I was a little kid. I'm not a Scientologist anymore, but some things run deep. So then it talks about the social personality. And it basically defines the difference between a Scientology. Somebody says, it's funny because I got an ad for a Bible praying app showing up. That's on you, boo. That's on you. So basically the main difference, according to Scientology, between an antisocial and a social personality is that the antisocial person wants everybody to fail. It's not in this book, but if you study further, you'll find out that the antisocial personality is stuck in an incident in a past life or something that happened previously, and they're still stuck back then, and they're fighting everybody because they still think they're stuck. That's not in here. But they definitely talk about what happens if you are around somebody who is an antisocial personality. And that is, you will go what is called PTS. And they've got these pictures here. See, this guy's getting squashed for his art, and he's going to get sick. This girl's going to night school, and her husband, I'm assuming, is going, quit wasting your time trying to improve yourself. People can't get better. And so from here, a person will get sick or have accidents if they are around somebody who is an antisocial personality. According to this booklet, this is what Charlie Kirk would have learned from his pamphlet that allegedly saved his life, which I feel ironic saying because obviously it didn't. But I don't think that's on Scientology. Then we go through the PTS handling. And this is where we get to the concept of Scientology disconnection. And I find it interesting because this is presented as like icing, just like a cupcake. It's so, I see your comments. I see that. Okay. This is where you're taught in Scientology, if you are connected to somebody who is an antisocial personality, you will get hurt or ill, and you have to handle them, which means make them not be suppressing you, which if they're a true antisocial personality, you can't do. Or disconnect. And in Scientology, there is a policy of disconnection because there's a caveat brought, of course, baked into this. Anybody who is anti-Scientology is automatically an antisocial person. They're automatically, so they could be a literal nun. They could make food for the homeless every single day. They could dedicate their lives to helping others. But if they are anti-Scientology, they are an evil person, or they're really close to an evil person. But it's just like, it's an automatic. So I find that interesting. So this is what, I wonder what was going on, honestly, in Charlie Kirk's life, that this was, of all the books in here, of all the booklets, right? There's ones about study, there's ones about marriage, there's ones about children, there's ones about communication. There's a lot of different things, and all of us humans are very different. Injuries, study technology, answer to drugs, how to resolve conflicts, integrity and honesty, ethics, marriage, children. Oh, I'm going to sneeze, guys. Oh, hold on. I didn't sneeze. Maybe it'll come back. Anyway, of all of them, this was the book that he was given. I want to just really quickly tell you guys one other thing. There are 2 other books that follow this, 2 other chapters. The next one is Solutions for a Dangerous Environment. And this is the one where we talk about ways to lessen a threat. There's literally ways to lessen a threat. Didn't work. And then another one right after this is, oh, it's not right after this, but there's another one in here about investigations. We also, a lot of us who've been paying attention also know that Charlie Kirk was forming some investigations. Now, we're going to look at this book a lot of other times, but I just find it really interesting. Now, do you remember what it said? Actually, I should pull that out again. Do you remember what it said in here? It said, it's not up to God. Like literally said that, didn't it? Here we go. It said, it literally said, it has nothing to do with the gods, fate, or positions of the stars, right? That's because there's this idea that you can be any other religion and still be a Scientologist, specifically Christian. And when we start looking about this infiltration, I can only assume that these people are being told a lie. They're being told the lie that they can be a Scientologist and a Christian or a Catholic or even a Jewish person or of the Jewish faith. And when you're dealing with the introductory things in this book, they make it very clear that we're not talking about God stuff. We're not talking about God stuff. These are practical tools. But I want to show you something. I want to show you guys the actual truth because I think this is so important. And if Scientology gets teamed up any deeper with TPS USA or MAGA, I think we're going to have a real problem on our hands. And it's very important. The one thing that seems to be able to just break this spell is for people to understand that the higher level you get up in Scientology is directly oppositional to the Christian faith. There are some confidential things that have been released. Let me show you one. Hold on a second. This is OT3. OT3 is about 2/3 up the chart, the bridge to total freedom. And, ooh, that's tiny. There we go. It is the Xenu story. But among other things, it says some pretty nasty stuff about Jesus. Actually, there's a quote over here that I should probably show you. Ready for this? This link is in the description of this video. What Christians need to know about Scientology. This is from OT3. For those of you whose Christian toes I may have stepped on, let me take the opportunity to disabuse you of some lovely myths. For instance, the historic Jesus was not nearly the sainted figure he has been made out to be. In addition of being a lover of young boys and men, he was given to uncontrollable bursts of temper and hatred. You only have to look at the history his teachings inspired to see where it all inevitably leads. It is historical fact, and yet man still clings to the ideal. So deep and insidious is this biological implanting. No doubt you are familiar with the Revelation section of the Bible, where various events are predicted. Also mentioned is a brief period of time in which the archenemy of Christ, referred to as the Antichrist, will reign, and his opinions will have sway. This Antichrist represents the forces of Lucifer, literally the light bearer or light bringer. Lucifer being a mythical representation of the forces of enlightenment. My mission could be said to fulfill the biblical promise represented by this brief Antichrist period. So I think that's pretty much all that needs to be said. When you get to the top levels, you find out that L. Ron Hubbard is actually anti-Christ. Literally, he sees himself as the bringer of light, which is the Antichrist. Now, I'm not here to tell you what to believe. You can believe what you want. You have the power to choose your own religion or your own cult if you're over the age and you have a fully developed mind. But you should know. Everybody should know this. And I have a feeling that these people might not know. Craig Jensen knows. But is he being honest when he's on the board of Turning Point, the advisory board of Turning Point USA? Is he representing his religion honestly as being anti-Christian? Is John Mappin being honest with Candace when he tells her that Scientology is XYZ and Charlie loved it and applied it? Did Charlie know that once you get to the high levels of Scientology, you are told that Jesus Christ is not real? He's not a God. He's not connected to God, and that he was a violent man with a temper who was a lover of young boys and men. You understand what is being said when it's saying that he's a lover of young boys and men. I don't know what Jesus was, but I can tell you that anybody who calls themselves a Catholic or a Christian is going to find this out the hard way. And they're not going to find out until they are 2/3 up the chart, which we call the bridge to total freedom. And often by then it's too late. For example, did you know that John Mappin had the Joburg security check? That's a pretty serious security check, guys. It was either that or the whole track, but he has submitted himself to extreme interrogation on an electrical device, asking him questions about crimes and sex and blackmail and drugs. And they promised with all of them that they wouldn't go to the police first, but they had this information way before he finds out the truth about Jesus. People should be very careful when dealing with Scientology. It's very much gives me Diddy Epstein vibes, because they get you in, they make you promises about power and control and your career and improving your financial situation. They take your secrets, they take your money, and by the time you find out that you have been lying, it's a little late and they own you. And I would just hate to see that happen to any more people that's already happened. Pam Bondi, she's so deep. We'll talk about that another day. Do you guys think that Charlie knew that when he loved Scientology and applied Scientology, do you think that he knew that once you get to the top, you are told that Jesus is a straight up violent pedophile? I don't think so. I don't think so. You know who's not on here? Crazy Eyes Erika. Because when I made this, I didn't realize she was probably the conduit. Should have known from those crazy eyes. I've seen that look before. The rest of the world is saying, oh, it's a little MK Ultra. Yeah, you know what else is MK Ultra? Ritualistic, emotionally manipulative, repetitive, hypnotic commands that you receive in a time of emotional duress while being told that it has nothing to do with God. It's just this technology. This is how they get people, guys. And if they could get Erika on that lie detector under the guise that they are going to lift her grief and make her feel better. And part of it is she has to confess things that she did against Charlie while they were alive. He was alive. Otherwise, she'll never get to fully dispel that energy. And it's written down in her little folder. You would only turn to somebody when your husband had died in a time of need if you felt like they could help you. And if Candace's tweet is correct, that Erika's team called either most likely Craig or Tim for help during this time. I mean, yeah, sure, maybe it was a financial call and they wanted to tell the donor. That could be it. But knowing Craig Jensen, how he forced his employees over decades, has more than one lawsuit where he forced his employees to do Scientology training, that would be such an in. Because you don't have to find the ruin for Erika. It's right there in everybody's face. The whole world witnessed it. Get her a little Scientology, get her the right booklet for the right time. But does she know? Does she care? It's akin to selling your soul to the devil. Really. Christians should probably know that. You compromise your spiritual integrity when you join Scientology under this guise that you'll be able to keep both faiths. L. Ron Hubbard is source. Think about that for a second. L. Ron Hubbard is source. He has written how the universe works pre-God, pre-earth, pre-human. He is the source of the knowledge and the story and the truth. At some point that clashes against God. And I just want every single person who is a Catholic or a Christian or of any faith to know what they're getting into. Otherwise, you're going to get in too deep, too fast, and you're going to fuck yourself over. How do I know? Because I was raised in it, and I got in deep, and I lost almost everything and had to restart. And faith crises are brutal and hard, and they kill people. People take their lives when they realize that they dedicated their energy to the wrong thing that went against their actual morals. And that's part of what happens here. So that's all I'm going to say about that, guys. You guys have a couple questions. I know this was kind of an informational one today. Tomorrow's going to be a much more chill. We're just going to hump day vibe check. But I'm going to answer some of your questions. Okay, so hi. How do we know that Craig Jensen is on the board of Trump USA? Trump. That's honestly the equivalent in my mind. Turning Point USA. My bad. We know that because he, for one, said it. He, for one, said it in his email to Joy. I'll pull that up again. It says, I am on the Turning Point USA Board Advisory. You can see that. I don't have it pulled up, but it's legit. There you go. Thank you, JoJo. And if you guys want to, you can, I really encourage this. It's called What Christians Need to Know About Scientology. This link. I found it to be really helpful and comprehensive. So Nora, hi. Well, don't forget Jennifer, she's talking to somebody else, that Lafayette, that's L. Ron Hubbard, that's his first name, also revealed that Jesus was real and that he was the bad guy. Oh, we just talked about this. Yeah. And honestly, you guys, this is a bit of Scientology lore, okay? I will try and find it. Maybe I can repost it in my post. But I did react to this guy named Stephen Fishman. He did these interviews. Now, Scientology says he's a wacko. A bunch of the confidential documents that we have, that we see, are from his lawsuit. And he did all these interviews. He straight up says, you guys, he says the craziest shit. First of all, he says that in a past life, he was Jesus's father. And that he didn't know this or something. And how he got Mary pregnant was he used to creep down to the water where they all bathed. Children, cover your ears. And thank you, JoJo. Okay, I'm going to back up. You guys want to hear the craziest story? This is crazy. Let me take a sip because this is wild. By the way, Scientology mugs are available on my merch. Okay. This guy, Stephen Fishman, hardcore into Scientology. Through Scientology processing, he says that he uncovered his past life, many past lives. But in one particular past life, he was Jesus's father. He used to creep down, like way back in the day in their little village, they had a pond or a lake or something, and Mary would go down there and bathe. And he was a creeper, and he would hide in the bushes and watch Mary bathe. Now, if we think about the actual Bible story, I mean, I forget how much older. Well, I guess he's Immaculate Conception. Anyway, it's all crazy. So he pleasures himself, and it goes into the water, and from there goes up into Mary and inseminates her and impregnates her with Jesus. Okay? Like I said, Scientology has pretty much written him off. They're like, he's a crazy guy. But he had a story where later he found Jesus and he was like, hey man, I'm your dad. And Jesus beat him up, like kicked his ass. And so later now, when we're looking at these documents and L. Ron Hubbard is saying that Jesus was violent, is it because of Stephen Fishman's stories? Could it really just be a one wackadoodle dude listening to another wackadoodle dude, and they're just building this entire history off of just freaking insanity? Could it be? I don't know. I mean, it checks out. Seems legit. Seems legit that this would just be mannery. Is that a word? Mannery? Feels like one. Anyway. Yes. All right, guys. Today is a short one. It was a snow day this morning. I had to late start, change my life. Oh, look at this. Thank you so much. I should do some. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you so much for that. Someone Venmo'd me as well. That's so sweet. Thank you. I appreciate it so much. Yes. And thank you for these, Julie. If you want to support my channel, please do so. You can. Oh my gosh, Super Pup has been a member for 14 months. Thank you so much. That is a long time, Super Pup. A long time. Wow. So I do have a membership here on my channel. And if you would like to support me, that's pretty much the best way at this point. It's very inexpensive. I am still getting used to this live streaming Monday through Thursday. I'm still trying to kind of find my groove. If I want this to be like informational. I don't want to be a grifter, you guys. I have PTSD about being called a grifter, but I will put up an Amazon wish list because honestly, I need a little help getting the microphone that I need. We all know that I have audio issues. That's going to be my next goal, but I'm going to put up an Amazon wish list. Don't feel obligated, but if you're flush with cash and you want to help a girl out, you're this close to putting a boob fund. I joke, but we'll start with the microphone. Okay, guys. Well, thank you so much. If you haven't subscribed or liked this, put up what I sent you. It's legit. Oh, she did send me a microphone. I will. I'm going to put that on there. And I can save up. I'm like a grown person. But if anybody wants to help, that would be amazing. What else? If you haven't bought my book, please do so. Check out my website, which is liz-gale.com. And you can see my store there, merch there, find out about my book. You can contact me there. What else? Tomorrow morning, I'm doing something kind of cool. It's kind of a secret. It'll come out at some point, but I'm excited about that. I have to wake up really early tomorrow to talk to somebody special. Other than that, if you want to come on my show, if you feel like you have something to say, please reach out to me. If you're an ex-Scientologist or you're not an ex-Scientologist, if there's something you want to talk about, I'd love to have you on. What else? I think that's everything. No worries, babes. Sleep it off. Yeah, short and sweet today. All right, guys, tomorrow we are going to do our Wednesday hump day vibe check, and we will just shoot the breeze and not have to learn anything or talk about anything specific. And that's all. Okay, bye, guys. See you tomorrow. Thanks for being here.
She knows herself, she finds her way. Through art and joy, she shapes each day, crafting beauty from the past.